The manila envelope trembled in my hands as I stared at the return address. Estate of Margaret Robinson. My grandmother's final gift to me sat inside, but I couldn't bring myself to open it. Not yet, not alone. I'm Lillian, and this was the moment everything changed. Just open it already. Wendy leaned across my kitchen counter, coffee mug in hand. You've been staring at that thing for 20 minutes. I know, I know. I traced my finger along the sealed edge. It's just, once I open it, it's real. She's really gone. She'd want you to open it, honey. The paper ripped easily, revealing a small velvet pouch and a handwritten note. My heart caught in my throat as I recognized Grandma's elegant script. My dearest Lillian, I read aloud, my voice wavering. These rings have been in our family for 4 generations. The sapphire was your great-grandmother's engagement ring, and the diamond was mine. They represent our family's strength, love, and resilience. Now they're yours to cherish and pass on. All my love, Grandma. I upended the pouch onto my palm. Nothing fell out. That's impossible, I whispered, turning the pouch inside out. They have to be here. Maybe they're still in the envelope, Wendy suggested, already picking it up to check. My hand shook as I rifled through the empty envelope. No, 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 this can't be happening. When was the last time you saw them? Wendy asked, helping me search the counter. At the funeral, I stopped cold. Terrell was there. Your ex? I thought he was on his honeymoon with what's her name? Raquel. The name tasted bitter. They leave next week for some fancy cruise. My phone buzzed. Instagram notification. I almost ignored it until I saw the caption. Living the dream with my new husband. Luxury, yacht, t-shirt, new chapter. There was Raquel, draped across the bow of a gleaming white yacht. Diamond-studded hands catching the sun. My stomach lurched. Oh my God. I zoomed in on her right hand. Wendy, look at this. She squinted at the screen. Is that my great-grandmother's sapphire ring? The room started spinning. He sold my grandmother's rings to buy them a yacht. That bastard. Wendy grabbed my phone, scrutinizing the photo. How do you know it's the same ring? I pulled up an old photo on my phone. Grandma and me at my wedding. Her hands clasped in mine, both rings clearly visible. See that unique setting? The way the sapphires nestled in those Art Deco swirls? It's one of a kind. We need to call the police. And tell them what? That my ex-husband sold jewelry that was technically still in his possession when we divorced? I slumped against the counter. I never had them officially appraised or documented. Then we'll find another way. Wendy's voice took on that determined tone I knew too well. Where are they taking this fancy cruise? According to her endless posts, they're sailing from Miami next Friday. I scrolled through Raquel's feed. A week-long Caribbean cruise on their private luxury yacht. The words felt like acid in my mouth. Private yacht. Wendy's eyes lit up dangerously. That means crew, staff, people coming and going. I looked up sharply. Wendy, no, whatever you're thinking. I'm thinking it's time to call Peyton. She was already dialing. Remember when she helped my sister get into that exclusive club to confront her cheating boyfriend? She's got connections everywhere. This isn't some club, Wendy. It's a yacht in international waters. Even better, Wendy put the phone on speaker as it rang. No jurisdiction. You two better have a good reason for calling me at brunch. Peyton's voice crackled through the speaker. How would you like to help us crash a honeymoon cruise? Wendy asked. There was a pause. I'm listening. I stared at my empty palm where the rings should have been. Thinking of Grandma's letter. Family strength, love, resilience. Terrell had stolen more than just jewelry. He'd stolen my heritage, my history, my last connection to the woman who raised me. You know what? I straightened up, a new fire burning in my chest. I'm in. Whatever it takes, I'm getting those rings back. Now that's what I'm talking about, Wendy cheered. Hold up, Peyton interrupted. Before we plan any maritime missions, someone better fill me in on exactly what's going on. I took a deep breath, my grandmother's words echoing in my mind. Strength, love, Resilience. It all started at the funeral, I began, and as I told the story, I could feel the pieces of a plan starting to fall into place. Tyrell thought he could just sail away with my family's legacy. He had no idea what was coming. You found what? I gripped my phone tighter, pacing my living room, as Peyton's words sank in. The bill of sale, she repeated, from Estate Jewelers on 5th. Tyrell sold both rings 3 months ago for exactly what he needed for the down payment on that yacht. My free hand clenched into a fist. 3 months ago? That was before Grandma even, while she was in hospice, Wendy finished, her face darkening. He knew about the inheritance and planned this whole thing. I collapsed onto my couch, the reality hitting me like a physical blow. He visited her there, brought her flowers, told her he'd always consider her family, even after the divorce. Classic Tyrell, Wendy spat. All charm, zero conscience. There's more, Peyton said. I did some digging into the yacht purchase. Guess who's listed as co-owner? Raquel? Nope, just Tyrell. She doesn't own a thing. Oh, this keeps getting better. Wendy leaned forward. So he sells your family heirlooms, uses the money to buy himself a yacht, and doesn't even put his new wife's name on it. My phone buzzed with another notification. Raquel had posted again. Shopping for the perfect cruise wardrobe. Can't wait to show off these gorgeous vintage rings hubby surprised me with. Chuck blessed spoiled. I'm going to be sick, I muttered. No, you're going to get even, Wendy declared. Peyton, tell her what you found out about the cruise situation. Right. Keys clicked in the background. The yacht's a 120-footer called Second Chances. Real subtle, Tyrell. And they're hiring 3 new crew members for the honeymoon cruise. 1 stewardess, 1 deckhand, and 1 chef's assistant. And? Wendy prompted. And I might have already submitted our applications under fake names. You what? I sat up straight. Relax, Peyton said. I used my contact at the staffing agency. As far as they're concerned, we're experienced yacht crew with glowing references. Interviews are tomorrow. Tomorrow, my voice cracked. That's insane. We can't actually— Yes, we can, Wendy interrupted. And we will. Lillian, he stole from you while your grandmother was dying, while she trusted him. This isn't just about the rings anymore. She was right. The more I learned, the angrier I got. But what about our jobs, our lives? We can't just disappear for a week. I've got 2 weeks of vacation saved up. Wendy shrugged. I work remotely anyway, Peyton added. As long as I have my laptop, no one will know the difference. And you, Wendy pointed at me. Just finish that big project. You said yourself your schedule's clear for the next month. My heart raced as the possibility became real. Even if we get hired, we don't know anything about working on a yacht. Already handled, Peyton said. I've got tutorial videos, manuals, everything we need to know. We've got 5 days to learn the basics. 5 days to become convincing yacht crew? I laughed nervously. This isn't some heist movie. No, it's better. Wendy grinned. It's justice. My phone buzzed again. Another Instagram post. Raquel modeling my great-grandmother's ring in front of a mirror. The sapphire, catching the light exactly the way it used to on Grandma's hand. Something snapped inside me. Okay, I said quietly. What do we need to do? First, we need new looks, Peyton said. Professional crew appearance. No personal jewelry, neutral makeup, hair pulled back. I know someone who can get us proper uniforms, Wendy added. And we need backstories, Peyton continued. Detailed ones. These people are living in close quarters. They'll ask questions. I stood up, determination replacing fear. Then let's get started. The next few hours were a blur of planning. Peyton created our fake credentials, while Wendy coordinated with her uniform contact. I studied yacht terminology until my head spun. As the sun set, Wendy and Peyton finally headed home, leaving me alone with my thoughts and a stack of crew manuals. I pulled out Grandma's letter again, reading it for the 100th time. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. My heart stopped when I opened it. A photo of Tyrell and Raquel at some fancy restaurant, her hand prominently displayed. The message read, "Thought you should see this. Those rings never belonged to him to sell. R." "Who's R?" I texted back. "Someone who knows the truth and wants to help." I stared at the message, possibilities racing through my mind. Whoever R was, they were right about one thing. Those rings never belonged to Terrell, and soon they wouldn't belong to him or Raquel ever again. I picked up the crew manual and started reading. 5 days to learn how to be the perfect stewardess. 5 days until we put our plan in motion. Grandma always said I had her spirit. Time to prove it. "Stand up straighter," Wendy hissed as we walked into the staffing agency. Yacht crew don't slouch. After 3 days of crash course training, we were as ready as we'd ever be. My hair was pulled back in a severe bun, my makeup minimal, my new uniform crisp and professional. I barely recognized myself in the mirror. Names? The receptionist barely looked up from her computer. Lisa Martinez, Sarah Thompson, and Rachel Wilson. Peyton answered smoothly. "Using our fake identities. We have interviews at 10. Take a seat." We weren't alone in the waiting area. 2 other women in similar uniforms sat reviewing papers, probably competing for the same positions. My stomach churned. "Stop fidgeting," Wendy whispered. "You're a seasoned stewardess, remember." Before I could respond, my phone vibrated. Another message from R. "Interview panel includes the head steward. He's tough but fair. Don't oversell your experience." How does R know all this? Peyton leaned over to read the text. "No idea, but they haven't been wrong yet." A door opened, and a tall man in a pristine white uniform appeared. Rachel Wilson. That was my cue. I stood, channeling every ounce of confidence I could muster. The interview room was small but elegant, with model yachts displayed on shelves and maritime certificates covering the walls. "So, Rachel," the head steward began, "tell me about your last position." I launched into the backstory Peyton had crafted, about working on a private yacht in the Mediterranean. We'd studied photos and videos of the actual yacht I claimed to work on, making sure I could describe every detail. "And why did you leave?" "The owner sold the yacht," I replied, the practiced lie flowing smoothly. "I'm looking for a new long-term position." He nodded, making notes. "The Second Chances is a unique vessel. The owners are particular about their privacy." I caught the slight hesitation in his voice. Did he know something about Tyrell and Raquel? "Discretion is my top priority," I assured him. The questions continued for 20 minutes. Every time I felt myself faltering, I thought of Grandma's rings on Raquel's fingers, and my resolve strengthened. Finally, he sat back. "Well, Rachel, your references are excellent. When can you start?" "Immediately." "Good. The yacht leaves Friday at noon. Be at Marina Bay by 9 a.m. for orientation." Back in the waiting room, I gave Wendy and Peyton a subtle thumbs up as they headed in for their interviews. My phone buzzed again. "R, well done, but watch out for the first mate. He worked with Tyrell before." I froze. "Who are you?" I typed back. "R, someone who knows what it's like to lose something precious to Tyrell's greed." Before I could respond, Wendy emerged grinning. 10 minutes later, Peyton joined us, also successful. "We're in," she whispered, as we hurried out of the building. "Now comes the hard part." We regrouped at my apartment, spreading our materials across the kitchen table. Peyton pulled up the yacht's layout on her laptop. "Okay, here's what we know," she began. "The rings are likely in the master suite, safe. Standard procedure is for valuable jewelry to be secured while at sea." "How do we get the combination?" I asked. "Leave that to me," Peyton smirked. "But first, we need to establish ourselves as crew. No one can suspect anything's off." "Speaking of off," Wendy interrupted, "R just sent me something interesting." She showed us her phone, a crew list for the yacht. "Look who's listed as second stewardess." The name jumped out at me. "Rebecca Ryan." "Ryan," I gasped. "As in Tyrell's sister," Wendy confirmed. "I think we just found out who R is." "But why would she help us?" I wondered. Because Tyrell screwed her over too, Peyton said, typing rapidly. Remember that business they started together? He bought her out for pennies right before it took off. A new message appeared on all our phones simultaneously. Meet me at the Blue Harbor Cafe, 1 hour. Come alone, Lillian. Time to talk face to face. It's gotta be a trap, Wendy protested. Or it's our best chance at pulling this off, I countered, already grabbing my keys. At least let us watch from a distance, Peyton insisted. I nodded, my mind racing. Rebecca had always been kind to me during my marriage to Tyrell. If she was really on our side, 1 hour, I said. Let's see what Tyrell's sister has to say. As I headed for my car, another text came through. Bring Grandma's letter. You'll want proof of inheritance where we're going. The pieces were falling into place, but something felt off. Was Rebecca really trying to help, or was this all part of a bigger game? Only one way to find out. The morning sun glinted off Second Chance's pristine white hull as we approached Marina Bay. My new uniform collar felt too tight, and the deck shoes Wendy insisted I break in were already giving me blisters. Remember, Peyton muttered as we walked down the dock. We don't know each other, not really. After our meeting with Rebecca yesterday, everything had changed. She'd provided detailed intel about the yacht's security systems, crew dynamics, and most importantly, Tyrell's daily routine. But her final warning still echoed in my head. If he catches you, he'll destroy you. He's had practice. New crew? A muscular man in a crisp white uniform approached us. I'm Marcus, first mate. You must be Rachel, Sarah, and Lisa. I nodded, forcing a professional smile. This was the man Rebecca had warned us about, Tyrell's old friend. Follow me. Owners arrive in 3 hours. Everything needs to be perfect. The yacht's interior took my breath away. Gleaming wood, plush carpets, crystal chandeliers, all bought with my family's heritage. Rachel, you'll handle the master suite, Marcus instructed. Sarah, you're on deck duty. Lisa, report to the galley. We separated, each heading to our assigned posts. The master suite was on the upper deck, exactly where Rebecca said it would be. I started making the bed, carefully noting the safe's location behind an abstract painting. Oh, I didn't realize anyone was in here. I spun around. Raquel stood in the doorway, wearing a flowing sundress and, my heart clenched, both rings. Just finishing up, ma'am, I managed, keeping my voice steady. She walked in, running her hand along the dresser. This is your first cruise with us? Yes, ma'am. Please, call me Raquel. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. That's a lovely necklace. My hand flew to my throat. I'd forgotten to remove Grandma's small gold pendant. Thank you, Ma. Raquel. It was my grandmother's. Something flickered across her face. Recognition? Guilt? Before I could analyze it, Tyrell's voice boomed from the hallway. Honey, where did you put my— Oh. He stopped short, seeing me. For a terrifying moment, I was sure he'd recognize me despite the uniform and severe hairstyle. New stewardess, Raquel explained quickly. He barely glanced at me. Have you seen my blue blazer? I'll check the closet, sir, I offered, turning away before he could look too closely. Never mind, I'll find it myself. He walked past me, his cologne bringing back unwanted memories. I escaped as soon as I could, heading below deck where I found Wendy, Sarah now, polishing brass fixtures. He's wearing the same cologne, I whispered as I passed. Focus, she murmured back. Rebecca says the safe combination is in his phone. Peyton's working on it. The yacht's horn blasted, signaling departure. I hurried back upstairs, taking my position for the safety briefing. As other guests arrived, apparently this private cruise included some of Tyrell's business associates. I spotted Peyton in the galley, already looking frazzled from kitchen duty. All crew, report to main deck, Marcus announced over the intercom. We assembled in our positions as Tyrell addressed his guests. I kept my head down, but I could feel Raquel watching me. When I glanced up, she was twisting my great-grandmother's ring around her finger. A toast. Tyrell raised his champagne glass. to new beginnings. As everyone cheered, my phone vibrated silently in my pocket. A message from Rebecca. Safe combination copied from his phone. Check your email. Be careful. He's already suspicious of new crew. I waited until the guests dispersed before checking my email. There it was, 6 digits that would lead me to Grandma's rings. Rachel, Marcus called out. The owners would like their suite prepared for afternoon rest. Right away, sir. I headed upstairs, passing Raquel, who was deep in conversation with one of the guests. She grabbed my arm as I passed, her grip surprisingly strong. Make sure you change the sheets, she said loudly, then whispered, we need to talk, alone, tonight. I nodded, confused, and continued to the suite. As I changed the bedding, I noticed something odd. The safe's painting was slightly askew, and a small piece of paper peeked out from behind it. Glancing around to ensure I was alone, I carefully pulled it out. It was a photograph, old and creased. Tyrell and Rebecca, as teenagers, holding what looked like a family heirloom necklace. On the back, in faded ink, remember what you promised. Never sell it. The irony hit me like a wave. I wasn't the first person whose family heritage Tyrell had betrayed. The yacht's engines rumbled to life, and I felt the first gentle sway of movement. We were officially underway. No turning back now. As I tucked the photo back behind the painting, I heard footsteps approaching. Time to play my part. The real challenge was just beginning. He knows something's wrong. Peyton's whisper barely carried over the engine hum. As we huddled in the narrow crew corridor, I overheard him grilling Marcus about background checks. Night had fallen, and most guests were at dinner. We had minutes, at most. Did you get the safe combination to work? Wendy asked, keeping watch. Haven't had a chance to try, I replied. Someone's always in that suite, and now Raquel wants to meet tonight. Don't, Peyton interrupted. It's too risky. A door slammed somewhere above us. We scattered, resuming our duties, like the professional crew we were pretending to be. I headed to the upper deck, silver service tray in hand, my heart pounding. More champagne, sir. I approached Tyrell's table, keeping my eyes downcast. Actually, he said, join us for a moment, Rachel. My hand trembled slightly as I set down the tray. Around the table sat Tyrell, 2 business associates, and an empty chair where Raquel should have been. Marcus tells me you worked on the Aurora last season. Tyrell continued, swirling his wine. Funny thing is, I know the owner. Called him today. Ice spread through my veins. Sir? He said he's never heard of you. The businessman to his left chuckled. Having staff troubles already, Tyrell? No. Tyrell smiled, but his eyes were cold. Just being thorough. Why don't you tell us where you really worked last season, Rachel? Before I could respond, Raquel burst onto the deck. Tyrell. The safe. Someone's been in the safe. All eyes turned to her. I took the opportunity to step back, trying to control my breathing. What? Tyrell stood so quickly his chair toppled. That's impossible. I have the only combination. The painting was moved, Raquel insisted. And that photo, the one of you and Rebecca, it's gone. Tyrell's face darkened. He turned back to me, but I was already moving. I'll alert security right away, sir, I said professionally, escaping below deck. I found Wendy in the crew mess. We've got trouble, I whispered. Already heard, she replied. Peyton's wiping the security footage now, but there's something else. That photo you mentioned? Rebecca says it proves the necklace in it belonged to their grandmother. Tyrell sold that too. He's been doing this for years, I realized. Selling family heirlooms for quick cash. Rachel, Marcus's voice made me jump. Mrs. Ryan requests your presence in the master suite. Now, I followed him upstairs, my mind racing. Had Raquel recognized me? Was this a trap? The suite was dark when I entered, lit only by the moon through floor-to-ceiling windows. Raquel stood by the safe, both rings glinting on her fingers. Close the door, she said softly. I did. I knew it was you the moment I saw that necklace, she said. Your grandmother's, right? Like these rings? Raquel, save it. She held up her hand. I know why you're here. I know what he did. Then why Why am I wearing them? She twisted the sapphire ring. Because I needed proof. Proof of what he's capable of. A noise in the corridor made us both freeze. He's been selling pieces of his family's history for years, she continued quickly. Using the money to build this image, this lifestyle. I thought I was special, but I'm just another transaction. Why are you telling me this? Because I want out, she whispered. But I need insurance. These rings, they're my leverage. Footsteps approached the suite. Tomorrow night, she said urgently. There's a formal dinner. Everyone will be in the main salon. The safe will be empty. That's your chance. The door handle turned. Is everything all right in here? Tyrell's voice carried through the door. Fine, honey, Raquel called out. Then to me, barely audible. Choose your moment carefully. We only get one shot at this. I slipped out past Tyrell, mumbling something about fresh towels. As I hurried down the corridor, my phone buzzed. Rebecca. Don't trust her. Raquel's playing both sides. Always has. Another buzz. But she's right about tomorrow night. It's your best chance. I found Peyton in the galley. We need to move fast, I told her. Tomorrow night. Are you ready? She nodded. Security systems will be down for exactly 3 minutes during dinner service. After that, we either have the rings or we're caught. I finished. Through the porthole, I could see Tyrell and Raquel on deck, arguing in harsh whispers. The rings caught the moonlight as she gestured angrily. Tomorrow night, one chance to reclaim what was stolen. One chance to expose Tyrell's years of betrayal. One chance to make it right or lose everything trying. The formal dinner buzzed with conversation and clinking glasses. I moved between tables, pouring wine while keeping one eye on my watch. 20 minutes until Peyton's security blackout. More Bordeaux, sir. I approached Tyrell's table, where he sat with his arm around Raquel. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Actually, Tyrell said, I'd like you to check on something in our suite. The air conditioning seems off. My heart skipped. This was it. The opportunity we'd been waiting for. Almost too perfect. Of course, sir. As I turned to leave, Rebecca's warning flashed through my mind. Don't trust her. Raquel's playing both sides. I climbed the stairs to the upper deck, every step measured and calm, despite my racing pulse. The suite door opened smoothly. No sign of forced entry needed. Inside, the air felt perfectly cool. Checking for intruders? I spun around. Raquel stood in the doorway, still wearing her dinner gown, and my grandmother's rings. The air conditioning seems fine, I said carefully. Drop the act, Lillian. She closed the door behind her. We both know why you're here, do we? You want these? She held up her hands, the rings catching the light. Come take them. What's your game, Raquel? No game. She walked to the safe, punched in the combination. Just insurance, like I said. The door swung open. My phone vibrated. Peyton's signal. Security cameras down. 3 minutes starting now. He's watching the suite feed. Raquel said quietly. Or he was, until it mysteriously went dark just now. Your friend in the kitchen is quite talented. How did you? Because I've been watching too. Waiting. Planning. She pulled a small velvet bag from the safe. These belong to you. She held out the bag, but I didn't move. Why help me? Why now? Because of this. She pulled out her phone, showed me a series of transfers. He's been emptying our accounts, moving everything offshore. Once this cruise ends, he's disappearing, without me. 2 minutes left. The rings were just the beginning, she continued. He's been selling off family heirlooms for years, building his escape fund. I found out last week. That's when I contacted Rebecca. You're R? We both are. Rebecca provided the information. I made sure you got on board. She pressed the velvet bag into my hand. But we need proof of his fraud, and it's in that safe. 1 minute. I opened the bag. Both rings fell into my palm. Familiar and precious. But something felt wrong. If you're helping me, I said slowly, why tell Tyrell about the missing photo yesterday? Raquel smiled sadly. I didn't. He planted that story to test you. And you ran, exactly as he expected. The door burst open. Tyrell stood there, Marcus right behind him. "Well done, honey," Tyrell said, stepping into the room. Though I'd hoped she'd at least try to crack the safe first. Would have made this easier to explain to the authorities. Raquel stepped away from me, moving to Tyrell's side. The betrayal hit like a physical blow. "You played me." "No," Raquel said. "I warned you. Insurance, leverage, just not the way you thought." "The perfect trap," Tyrell smirked. "A disgruntled ex-wife, caught stealing on camera. How sad." "What camera?" I asked. "The system's down." His smile faltered slightly. "Marcus, all systems are dark, sir. Have been for—" He checked his watch. 3 minutes now. "Impossible." Tyrell pulled out his phone, jabbing at the security app. I took advantage of his distraction to send the emergency signal to Wendy and Peyton. 3 quick taps on my phone in my pocket. "Trying to check the cameras," I asked innocently. "Maybe your tech person could help. Where is she? Lisa, right?" On cue, alarms began blaring throughout the yacht. The emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in red. "Fire in the galley," someone shouted from below. "All guests to muster stations." Chaos erupted. Marcus ran to help with evacuation protocols. Tyrell grabbed for the velvet bag, but I was faster, backing toward the door. "You really should update your security protocols," I said, slipping the rings onto my finger where they belonged. "And maybe background check your kitchen staff better." "You think this changes anything?" he snarled. "Those rings are still legally mine." "Actually," Raquel spoke up, her voice different now, harder. "They're not. And I have the paperwork to prove it." Tyrell turned to her in shock. "What?" She pulled an envelope from her clutch. "Insurance, honey, like I said." The alarms kept wailing. Footsteps pounded in the corridors as guests evacuated, and in the chaos, I saw Raquel wink. Maybe Rebecca was wrong about whose side she was really on. Or maybe this game was far from over. The yacht's main salon was chaos. Guests in evening wear huddled by the emergency exits, while crew members conducted a head count. The fire in the galley had been contained, exactly as planned, but the disruption had served its purpose. "Everyone stay calm," Marcus announced. "This is just a precautionary evacuation." I spotted Wendy directing passengers, maintaining her cover perfectly. Peyton was nowhere to be seen, probably still working her technical magic below deck. "Those papers," Tyrell growled at Raquel. "Give them to me." "These papers," she waved the envelope. "The ones proving you forged my signature on loan documents? Or the ones showing how you've been selling stolen family heirlooms?" His face contorted. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" She turned to address the crowd. "Everyone, I have an announcement." "Raquel, don't—" "My husband here has been running quite the scheme." She projected her voice over the chaos. "Would anyone like to know what really paid for this lovely yacht?" Phones started emerging from pockets and clutches. In the age of social media, a scandal was impossible to contain. "She's lying," Tyrell announced, trying to maintain control. "Security, remove her." "Security's a bit busy with the fire situation," I said sweetly. "Maybe we should all hear what she has to say." The guests murmured, recording devices aimed our way. Tyrell's business associates exchanged worried glances. "Show them the rings, Lillian," Raquel called out. I held up my hand, letting the emergency lights catch the sapphire and diamond. "These belong to my grandmother. Tyrell sold them without permission while she was dying." "That's not true," Tyrell protested, but his voice wavered. "It is true." A new voice rang out. Rebecca emerged from the crowd, phone in hand. "Just like you sold our grandmother's necklace. I have the proof right here." She pressed play. Tyrell's voice filled the salon. "Of course I sold it. Dead people don't need jewelry, and living people need yachts." The recording continued, damning evidence of his schemes spilling into the stunned silence. "You recorded me." Tyrell lunged for Rebecca's phone. "Don't touch her." Raquel stepped between them, the envelope still clutched to her chest. Tyrell grabbed her arm, trying to snatch the papers. She stumbled, and the envelope went flying, documents scattering across the floor. The guests gasped. Someone shouted, "Police!" Another filmed everything. "Those are mine." Tyrell dove for the papers. "No," I said firmly. "They're evidence." As if on cue, the yacht's engines cut out. We lurched slightly, dead in the water. "What's happening?" Marcus demanded into his radio. Peyton's voice crackled back. "Some kind of engine malfunction. We'll need to return to port." This was all planned, Tyrell realized, looking between me, Raquel, and Rebecca. "You three work together." "4," Wendy corrected, dropping her crew act. "Don't forget me." 5. Peyton emerged from below deck, engines not starting until the authorities arrive. Tyrell laughed bitterly. "You think you've won? It's my word against yours." Actually, one of his business associates stepped forward. "It's your word against all of us. We've seen enough." "And heard enough," another added, holding up his phone. "This is already trending." Red and blue lights appeared on the horizon. Coast Guard responding to our emergency signal. "It's over, Tyrell," Raquel said softly. The truth was always going to come out. He looked around wildly, seeing nothing but phones recording his downfall. Former friends backing away. His carefully constructed world crumbling. "You're all going down with me," he threatened. "Conspiracy, theft." "Theft," Rebecca interrupted. "You mean like selling grandmother's necklace? Or Lillian's rings? Or maybe we should discuss the artwork from your investor's collection." The businessman who'd spoken earlier paled. "My Monet? Check your vault," Rebecca advised. "Actually, check with that dealer in Geneva." The Coast Guard vessel pulled alongside. As officers boarded, Tyrell finally seemed to deflate. "Why?" he asked Raquel. "You could have just divorced me, taken half." "Half of what?" She gathered the scattered papers. "Your offshore accounts, your shell companies." I wanted the truth exposed, all of it. The officers approached, and Peyton stepped forward. "I have files you'll want to see. Banking records, sales receipts, forged documents." As Tyrell was led away, still protesting, I felt the weight of my grandmother's rings on my finger. Finally home. "Thank you," I said to Raquel. "All of you." She smiled tiredly. "Some things are worth more than money. Family legacy, truth, justice." Tyrell never understood that. The guests were being transferred to the Coast Guard vessel for return to port. Tomorrow this would be headline news. Tyrell's empire of lies would be fully exposed. But tonight, watching him being led away in handcuffs, I finally felt free. And looking at my grandmother's rings, catching the emergency lights, I knew she would be proud. "I still can't believe you kept these all this time." I held up the stack of letters, each one in Grandma's distinctive handwriting. Rebecca smiled, pouring more tea. "We sat in her garden, surrounded by the same types of roses Grandma used to grow. She wrote to me every month after you and Tyrell got married. She worried about you. She knew, didn't she, about him? She suspected. That's why she never gave him direct access to the rings. The letter you received. She wrote that the day before she died, made me promise to deliver it only after he showed his true colors." I finished. My phone buzzed. Another news alert about Tyrell's case. The media circus hadn't died down since that night on the yacht. Every day brought new revelations, more victims coming forward, more stolen heirlooms traced and returned. "Have you heard from Raquel?" I asked. "She's testifying today." Rebecca checked her watch. "The prosecution thinks her evidence will seal the case." The garden gate creaked. Wendy and Peyton arrived carrying boxes of pastries and case files. "You won't believe what they found in his storage unit," Peyton announced, spreading photos across the table. 3 generations of family treasures, all tagged for sale. "The investigators want us to help identify pieces," Wendy added. "See if we recognize anything from your grandmother's collection." I picked up a photo of an antique locket. This was in Grandma's jewelry box. I always wondered where it disappeared to. "Add it to the list," Peyton said, typing on her laptop. "The recovery team is tracking everything." Speaking of recovery, Rebecca reached into her bag. "I have something for you." She pulled out a worn leather journal. "Grandma left this for you too. Said to give it to you when you were ready." My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside, alongside Grandma's familiar script, were photos, recipes, pressed flowers, a record of our family's history. "There's more," Rebecca said softly. "Look at the back." I flipped to the final pages. There, carefully preserved, was a series of photographs. Grandma wearing the sapphire ring at her engagement, her mother wearing it before her, the diamond ring being passed down through generations. "She documented everything," Rebecca explained. "Every piece of jewelry, every story behind it. She knew someday someone might try to erase our history. Like Tyrell did," Wendy said. "Like Tyrell tried to do," Peyton corrected. "But he failed." My phone buzzed again. A message from Raquel. "Testimony done. Guilty on all counts. Heading to the garden. Save me some tea." "She did it," I announced. "They got him." Celebrations were cut short by another arrival. A delivery man approached with a small package. "Sign here, please." Inside was a velvet box and a note in Raquel's handwriting. "Found this in his office safe. Thought you should have it back before my testimony. Some things belong with their real family." I opened the box. Grandma's gold locket, the original, not just a photo of it, gleamed up at me. "Perfect timing," Rebecca smiled. "Now you have something new to document in the journal." "Not new," I corrected, opening the locket to reveal tiny photos of Grandma and me. Something returned, something remembered. Raquel arrived as we were passing around the journal, adding our own notes to its pages. She looked tired but satisfied. "The judge was not amused by his attempts to justify everything," she reported. "Called it a systematic betrayal of family trust." "What happens now?" Wendy asked. "Now," Raquel accepted a cup of tea. "Now we make sure every stolen piece finds its way home. Every family gets back what's theirs. And then?" Peyton prompted. "Then we write our own history," I said, touching my grandmother's rings. "One that can't be stolen or sold." Rebecca raised her teacup. "To family legacy." "To karma," Wendy added. "To justice," Peyton chimed in. "To truth," Raquel offered. I looked at these women, my unlikely allies, my new family, and raised my own cup to remembering where we come from and choosing where we go next. As if in response, a warm breeze swept through the garden, carrying the scent of roses, Grandma's roses. I opened her journal again, ready to add our story to its pages. Some things, I realized, are worth more than their weight in gold or sapphires or diamonds. Some things, like truth, justice, and family, are beyond price. And some things, once lost and found again, become even more precious for the journey back home.